10 plus years I've been helping people recover from OCD. I have my own method, and today I wanted to talk about the common mistakes in tracking time for OCD recovery. So a quick note, why do we track time? Tracking how much time you are ruminating, tracking how many compulsions you are doing if you're doing physical compulsions. It's ERP, but it's like ERP on steroids, meaning that you're not just passively, I'm just disregarding, I'm just reducing compulsions. No, how much are you reducing compulsions? How much are you disregarding? And when you keep tabs on it and you have this history that lines up that, hey, I was doing good this week, I did this, this, and this, I'm starting to feel better, versus I wasn't doing good this week, I know I need to improve this and this and this, I fell down here because of this and this. So you start to look at it like a game, you start to look at it methodically, and even when somebody asks you, well, how are you doing in recovery, you can give an actual factual answer of how you are doing, rather than, well, you know exactly how you're doing and you know exactly what you need to do to improve it. And this is why I always say that my clients are recovering faster than before, when we weren't doing the tracking. So this is why I really push on tracking the time. And again, if you're doing physical compulsions, then track the number of physical compulsions in the exact same way. But today I wanted to talk to you about the common mistakes in tracking time. So if you are tracking, and again, you can use the app, you can use a piece of paper, whatever works for you, but we track in 3-hour increments. And if you're new and you don't know why, the reason why it's in 3-hour increments is because if you track every hour, for people with busy lives, that's not really realistic for sustainability. Same as 2 hours, it just becomes too taxing. And 4 hours, you just won't remember how much time you ruminated. So 3 hours is this kind of perfect zone where you still remember, but it doesn't feel overwhelming to do that. And to track literally just takes a few minutes. So something that's gonna speed up your OCD so much, it's important for you to do that. It really is. Okay, going back to common mistakes in tracking time. Say you've been tracking for a week and you're seeing that the numbers are jumping. So some days are really low, some days are really high. If that is happening to you and the difference between days is quite drastic, that usually means that you are logging. So logging versus actively tracking and reducing. So basically you're allowing yourself to ruminate as much as you want, and then or doing as many compulsions as you want, and then after that you're like 100 compulsions. And I know it's very, very difficult, but that's usually the mistake that I see when it goes up and down like that. So try not, if that's your situation, try not to log, try to kind of use it as a filter, where you have a maximum number of rumination minutes that you're allowed today compared to yesterday, and no matter what, you're not going beyond that. So say yesterday was 180, so 3 hours out of 3 hours. Today better be 170. And then tomorrow 160, and you're really keeping on top of yourself to stick to those numbers. Not obsessively, you don't want this to become an obsession, but mindfully and laser focused, right? So that's one situation, is if the numbers are jumping. If the numbers are generally going down, but every once in a while you're hitting a snag and the numbers seem to push back up, what's happening there? If the numbers all of a sudden you find they're going up, usually what happens in that situation is you are facing exposure that you can't handle every once in a while. So it could be the same thing that you're not very frequently exposed to that really triggers you. So try to work with that trigger more, doing more exposure work with that specific situation. And when you do exposure work, don't go over 7 out of 10, because I know a lot of the times doctors, therapists, they'll push you to the limit, but the problem with the reason for exposure work is to do response prevention. And the problem with going above around 7-ish out of 10 is that you can push yourself and you can put yourself in an exposure situation, but will you do response prevention? Probably not. I bet on not. So try to do it in doable increments, and everybody has a different tolerance for mental pain. Some can tolerate higher mental pain, some lower. For example, kids have very low tolerance. So if you are a parent and you're working with a child, try to reduce the exposures to absolute minimum. But if you are an adult that's been through things that you're like, I just want to push, I need to recover shortest amount possible, then maybe you can go, instead of a 7, to like an 8. But I wouldn't go further than 8 out of 10 in terms of the level of stress that it's causing you. But if you feel like there's just this one trigger that just cuts me down, messes with my progress, then you gotta get through it, and you gotta do additional exposures for that one. If you find that the numbers are staying the same, so you find that they're generally just the same every single day, not better, not worse. So you look at, well, I have it in the app, right? Like you look at the week overview, but you can again do it on a piece of paper. It's not like I'm trying to sell you a $5 app or anything like that, but however you do it, try to first of all see, are you just kind of like putting a number down? Because sometimes people they'll just throw in, maybe it was like 10 minutes, and then they'll just put it for everything. So first of all, you need to really care about the numbers that you're putting down. They need to mean things. They can't just be just off the top of your head kind of thing. So they need to be fairly precise, not obsessively precise. We don't want to develop an OCD from this, an additional OCD theme from this. But you should be, if you're ruminated 5 minutes or 40 minutes, and if you're putting down, say, 30 minutes for every time period for the last week, you're not that regular. So there's usually, there should be ups and downs. So try to track more thoroughly, and especially watch, I would say, out of all the times of the day, watch the mornings and the nighttime. So for some people mornings, for some people nighttime. So if in the morning you're getting OCD thoughts and you find that the mornings are the worst, so you look at your chart and the first number of the day is the worst one, then you have to figure out what activity you can do in the morning. Laying down and ruminating is not the activity of your choice. Believe me, I have been there. It's a bad idea. Don't do that. You need to find something to do, and even if it's just getting out of bed and start getting your day started, it really doesn't matter what it is that you're doing in the morning, as long as you are active, and especially the hand-eye coordination. So working out, cooking, all those kinds of things help because they sidetrack your mind a little bit more. If you're just laying there or watching TV, passive activity is going to bring you more rumination. Same in the middle of the night. Unfortunately, if your option whether to lay there and sleep versus lay there and not sleep rather versus just doing something, I would say get up and do something, because there's no point in you just laying and getting deeper into thoughts. Because it's when you look at your chart, wherever the numbers are high, you need to objectively understand why the numbers are higher in this time period. It could be that a certain trigger happens. A lot of the times I find also the weekends tend to be worse for people, and that's because on the weekend people are more active and people feel like, well, this is my only time to spend with the family. I need to be kind of better in terms of how I feel. Sometimes this is no longer that relevant in COVID because we're with them all day long, but for people who are working, working outside the home, I should say, is still very relevant. So if that's your situation, then the weekend is your challenge and walk into that challenge, whether it's weekend, morning, nighttime, like a champion, like a warrior, where you're like, all right, let's do this. You want to dance OCD? Let's dance. In approaching it that way, it's kind of like you're winning half the battle, but by just being prepared and approaching it that way. And then from there, of course, disregarding afterwards, keeping yourself busy afterwards, that, okay, well, the OCD exposure is over. Yeah, of course, very scary, feels very real, as always. All right, now I'm on to the next thing. Kind of keep yourself moving. Also, with the chart, if the numbers are jumping a lot, forgot to mention it, it could be stress related. So see if the days are correlating to the days when you're feeling worse, if it's correlating to your stress levels in real life. For girls, how is it correlating with your monthly cycle? I know with all the women that I could do coaching with, that monthly cycle affects their level of anxiety, because it would. So also being kind of more in warrior mode on those specific days, right? Because and viewing things on those days, on the stress days of the cycle days, that it's just because stress, I know it's not valid, I know later on in the day, so say this is morning, right? In the afternoon, evening, it will not feel as real, so I just got to get to that period. I'm not going to ruminate now, I'm not going to seek reassurance, I'm not going to do compulsions, I'll just wait it out. And sometimes if you can't avoid doing reassurance, at least delay it, you know? And that's already training the brain that this is not all that relevant. So I hope these tips help you if you have any additional questions about tracking the time, because it's very important for you to understand how to track correctly for recovery. The other thing, I guess I always mention this, but I get this question a lot, and I'm sure I'll get it in the comments, is what counts as time tracking. I had my previous video went in depth on this topic, but anything except for when the thought came in. When the thought came in, that's not you. You have no control over that. It's what you did as a response. So thought comes in as a statement, as an image, as a sensation, as an urge, and then it's your turn. What do? Do you pull up a chair and listen very carefully? That counts as time. Or do you do a physical compulsion? Again, that counts as a compulsion. I hope this helps. I will be back tomorrow. I know I had a little bit of a break in videos, but I will be doing daily videos again, so I will be back tomorrow. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you would like to join us on the website, on the forum, or if you have any other questions, please visit youhaveocd.com. The link for the app I will leave below the video. Actually, all the links are below this video.
Hi everyone, I'm GREYMOND. I'm an OCD recovery coach with more than 10 years of experience helping people recover from OCD. Prior to that, I had severe OCD myself that I fully recovered from, and as do my clients. So if you wonder, can you fully recover from OCD? Absolutely, yes, you can. Today I wanted to talk to you about why are OCD thoughts not switching? Why is it still here? Why isn't it going away? And this is the situation that most people with OCD face. Why does this happen? When your OCD thoughts are not switching at all, that means that you're powering them up a lot. In fact, you're powering them up so much that the brain feels fully protected and it feels like it doesn't need to switch. It can just send you the same thought, get the same protection. That means you're safe, and on we go. When you start to take that power up away, which means refusing rumination, refusing reassurance, you get that rapid fire where thoughts are switching constantly. This is what I was talking about in yesterday's video. If you didn't see it, check that out. So when you start out in severe OCD, when severe OCD hit, you're going to have this one idea, one situation, or maybe sometimes you can have multiple, but even then it will be that group of, say, like 2 or 3 ideas or thoughts that are sticking. And then the details might shift a little bit, but you have those core thoughts that you can't get away from. If you have physical compulsions, maybe you have one thought, one fear, one idea, but the compulsions vary within that one idea, how you protect yourself. So, but overall, If you are experiencing that, you're not experiencing any shifts, and you are in fact doing rumination or compulsions, that means you're probably doing it a lot. So you're powering it up enough for it to not even budge. Once you start to budget, I promise you, you will start to see that the thoughts are switching faster. So they're going from this to that. Even when you start to do a little bit of disregarding, you might start to see that if the thought doesn't shift, then the details will start to shift rapidly. You start to see it go from one to another to another, to a point where by the end of the day, you're like, I had a million thoughts, I'm exhausted. Where before you were, I'm stuck on the same thought, I'm exhausted. But this shows where you are in the actual process of recovery. It should go ideally, and this is what I see from experience with clients. It should go from a person is stuck on, let's say, one or two or maybe three thoughts, really stuck. Then, as the person starts to do recovery work, thoughts start to shift, ideas start to shift. What about this? What about that? It starts to kind of jump everywhere to try to get that power up. The person is still not buying into it, they're staying strong. Little by little, that rapid fire from being really loud in your mind becomes very quiet, whisper quiet, and leaves. That's the process. That's what we want to see. And we discussed it yesterday in the video. Also, towards the end of the recovery, when you start to really disregard, you might get dreams where OCD is trying to bring you the thought in the dream. Again, normal. But yes, if you have one thought, you're stuck, really look at how much you're powering it up. Include everything where you think you might be powering it up. When I start to talk to clients, I always ask, are you talking to family members about it? Are you talking to friends about it? Are you ruminating with your psychiatrist? Are you just ruminating in your mind? Are you seeking rumination through seeking reassurance through forms? Are you doing physical compulsions? Are you doing avoidance? Are you just ruminating about the process of recovery? What if I never recover? This person online said that people can't recover, so if they said it, it must be true. Those kinds of things. All of that is a power up. Even situations that are maybe not entirely directed at the thought, but at how you feel about the thought, that I just feel so bad. I will never feel better. I will never enjoy life. The fears of non-enjoyment, that's a huge OCD theme in itself. So all of that powers up your OCD thought. And avoidance is a big one, because a lot of times people won't feel like, well, I don't do reassurance, I don't do compulsions, but I'm avoiding everything, right? So that's very, very common as well. So you have to be very honest with yourself. Literally write it out on a list. Where am I seeking reassurance? How am I powering this up? And little by little, I'm telling you, it doesn't take much, but it does take every day doing recovery work. Your recovery work is not limited to, for an hour a day, I did this exercise. Okay, great. What did you do for the rest of the day? So especially when you have pure type of OCD, or OCD that's maybe it's physical compulsions, and the physical compulsions are there with you all day. It's not enough to practice one thing. You have to practice all. If it's with you all day long, you have to practice all day long. Because if you're not practicing, chances are you're doing compulsions or rumination. So if you're not, basically, it's very difficult with OCD to stay neutral. So if you're not getting better, if you're not trying to get better in the course of a day, trying to do exposure work, sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't. But if you're trying to do exposure work, at least you're not getting worse. At least you're showing your brain that you're pushing through. So it's very, very important. When I hear a lot of the times therapists, doctors will say, well, just do this exercise, or just do these few exercises, or let's just do exercises when you come see me once a week. That's like a drop in the bucket, because it's with you from when you wake up to when you go to sleep. And if you're not addressing that as your primary thing, on purpose exposures are good, they're great, but it's with you all the time. So it has to be daily, moment by moment recovery has to be your primary focus. And additional exposures, sure, do them when you want to. But your whole day is recovery work. And if you reduce, I always say this because it's honestly, it's true. If you just reduce by 10 minutes a day rumination, with compulsion, it varies, right? So you can reduce by in minutes, you can reduce in how detailed you get into the compulsion, how thoroughly you do the compulsion. But if you really focus on doing the compulsion, doing it or refusing the compulsion, and just even by a little bit, I promise you, you will get there. Because if you reduce a little, then a little more, a little more, at least at some point, you'll run out of what to reduce. If you're doing it little bit by little bit, it might take you a while, but it's probably going to be a lot faster than how long you've suffered so far. Because there's only so many minutes in the day, right? So even if you reduce by 1 minute, you will get there. But I'm hoping you're going to reduce by a lot more. And the big thing with the reduction, I can tell you from speaking to so many clients, the biggest pitfall, I probably should do a separate video on it. I will try. But the biggest pitfall is skipping days. Because, oh, I didn't do rumination today or reassurance today, or sorry, I didn't track today. I didn't track yesterday. Oh, everything is bad. I always give this little anecdote where this is just human behavior, right? Where clients come to me, they start to do recovery work, they start to track the time, they feel better. They tell me, Ali, I am fully healed. I don't need to track anymore. Like, okay. Usually they might back this up with, and I'm really busy at work. I have a lot of things going on. And I think to myself, I'm like, plus stress. And I'm like, you should probably track the time. No, I am fully healed. A few days go by. Person will say, that's it. It's all over. I will never recover. Are you tracking now? No, there's no point. It's all over. They start to track again. Ali, I'm fully healed again. So the moral of the story is track when you have a good day, track when you have a bad day, and track not as a way of logging, but as a way of reducing. Because if you track only as a way of logging, you will never get there. You know, you're just logging information. That's all. A comparison I give for recovery is a diet. If you're on a diet and you're just, I'm just on a diet. We're all just on a diet forever. But if you say, okay, I'm focused, I have a goal, I'm going to do this, I'm going to eat this many calories, you're on it. Then you actually have, how will you fail? If you're tracking, if you're accountable, how will you fail, right? It's the same idea here. And if you skip days, you know what happens when you skip days on a diet. Same thing as it happens with OCD, you crash and burn. So try to look at it this way, that this is my priority. The rest of your life, the quality of your life, the quality of the life of people around you, it all depends on your recovery. This is the priority. And if you take it as a priority, if you do recovery work, like I said, every day, I promise you, you will get there. Just like I got there, just like my clients. Well, I got there slower because I wasn't tracking, but my clients do, and they get there really fast. And I can actually tell you that you can see people who are more accountable versus people who are kind of medium versus people who are not accountable. You could literally see the speed of recovery shift. So doesn't matter how small the step, do something every day, no matter what. I hope you find my videos helpful. Subscribe if you haven't. If you'd like to do one-on-one recovery program with me, all the information is on youhaveocd.com. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Hi everyone, I'm GREYMOND. I'm an OCD recovery coach with more than 10 years of experience helping people recover from OCD. Prior to that, I had severe OCD myself that I fully recovered from, and as do my clients. So if you wonder, can you fully recover from OCD? Absolutely, yes, you can. Today, I wanted to talk to you about a game changer in OCD recovery that you are not doing. And this is definitely something that I found over the years of working with clients. It didn't just come about, it literally organically came to me as we were doing recovery work with clients. It's very important for you to be accountable. Online, a lot of the times you have this story of well, just be you, well, you're suffering, well, it's okay. And I don't specifically like that approach because it becomes a very passive approach where you allow yourself to continue to fall down. And of course, there is a huge need for support and there's a huge need for acceptance. But if acceptance becomes not doing recovery work and accepting the suffering, you know what I mean? Because I see this a lot, some of the memes, some of the posts will kind of mimic that message of, well, this is what it is. And believe me, this is not what it is. You don't have to suffer. Myself personally, never mind my clients, but myself personally, had severe OCD and recovered. And I can see with clients every single day I'm talking to people, I see the same story that people who are proactive, who are like, Ali, I'm on this, I'm doing recovery work no matter what, I'm accountable, here's my tracking. Again, I always put the tracking up here. You want to use the app, but you can put it, literally copy this whole screen on a piece of paper or in a notebook or on your notes app on your phone and do it that way. But the accountability, it's not even important, it's vital, because there's no way anybody suffering with OCD can tell me that if they're ruminating 180 minutes each 3 hours, so 3 hours out of 3 hours, you will not be able to reduce by 1 minute. By 1 minute. So 1 minute where you're like, no matter what, I'm not ruminating. And 1 minute may not seem like much, but it actually changes little by little the chemistry of your brain, of how your brain is processing information. So you do 1 minute less today, 2 minutes less tomorrow. Even at this snail speed, you will still get there in 180 days. But you will only get there in 180 days if you have accountability. So, accountability needs to be your top priority, sticking with the tracking. I find that it's very, very difficult, and I can see why my own recovery journey, because this all came to me way after I recovered myself. My recovery journey was not, for the most part, tracked in any way. So I was doing this shuffle of, one step forward, one step back. Today I'm doing recovery work, tomorrow I'm not doing. Oh, I feel bad, I fell down, laid in bed for the entire day ruminating, right? Then you finally pick yourself up, but the damage is done. Now you dig yourself for a week out of the damage. I mean, I'm probably telling all of your guys' story because it's all of our story. It's my story, it's your story. And I'm telling you, to not continue this story, make that accountability. And another actually gem of accountability is when you start to do recovery work consistently, even if, again, just by 1 minute, you start to feel good about yourself. You feel like there is a system, you feel like you're on track, your self-esteem goes up. Because a lot of the times with OCD, people lose self-esteem massively because you're saying, well, I'm failing, I'm not doing well, I'm never going to recover, and all of this, rather than, hey, I did 1 minute less yesterday, I did the 1 minute less before that. I'm on track, and in 180 days, I'll be to 0 minutes. And as you are reducing, and I'm just saying, like, literally worst case scenario, as you are reducing this, you will start to feel better because the brain is adjusting. So this is 1 minute, 5 minutes, 20 minutes that you're not taking it seriously. And again, there is no reason why you cannot figure out a way not to ruminate for 60 seconds in every 3 hour time period. The only reason why you wouldn't is if you're not on the ball with the tracking. Now, some tips for the tracking. You need reminders. I always tell clients, put a reminder on your phone. iPhone has reminders app. I'm not sure what Android has, but probably something similar. There's plenty of apps in app stores that do reminders, that will tell you each 3 hours, track the time. And with the tracking of the time, it can't be a log. This is another area where people fall down, that you literally need to have in your mind, what's the number today? 170 for every time period max. Bam, done. Tomorrow, 160, bam, done. If you're going by 10 minutes, right? So you have that first and foremost. That is your top priority, not nothing else, because as you know, if you make other things your priority, those things will start to fall apart pretty darn quick if the OCD is not on the ball, right? So, oh, believe me, from personal experience, from experience of all my clients, you think your relationship is your priority, you think your job is your priority, good luck with that if you don't have OCD, right? If you have OCD attack, rather. So you need to make these numbers and reducing your top priority, not logging, but actively reducing by 1 minute, by 5 minutes, by 10 minutes, whatever you want. And another mistake I always see with clients is when they're starting out, especially, is the all or nothing mentality. Well, if I can't refuse all the thoughts, then I shouldn't do recovery work because I will never recover. No, it is just incrementally, because as you're doing that, your brain changes. And don't log how you're feeling. Don't view that as your measuring stick of, well, how am I feeling today? Because you can get stuck on that, and I see a lot of people get stuck on that. Your brain will adjust. You just need to focus on your actions, because when you have OCD, you don't actually have that much energy even left to deal with things. So all your energy has to go into reacting correctly, not into worrying about how you feel, which in itself can become a big obsession and a big compulsion. So don't go there. How you feel will fix itself as long as you stay on the schedule. So literally right now, again, people are like, oh, it's whatever, some way to sell an app or something like that. Literally, don't buy the app. I'm telling you, don't buy it. Get a piece of paper and literally write out day one. What's today? February the 8th. February 11th. February 11th, my goal number is this. February 12th, my goal number per every 3 hours is this. And you will see that trajectory. You will get to zero rumination. And OCD will not survive without rumination. That's the fuel that it needs. So this is totally, completely doable. But it will only be doable if you stay on the ball every single day and do this. I wish, I honestly, just kind of like a side personal note, I really wish I knew about this years ago when I was going through OCD recovery, because my recovery would have been so much faster. But this is the thing is, we adjust, and I guess we learn, and and I can tell you, it really does work. Also, another thing about the rumination, when I work with clients, and I find this is very important. So if you're doing this on your own, this is the video for you, because I know a lot of people can't afford it. A lot of people just don't want to share their thoughts and everything. So if you're doing it on your own, what I want you to do is track it just like it has on the app. Just again, not trying to sell you anything, just copy it over but track it that way. Because if you track it that way, then you can see in which 3 hour time period you're generally doing worse. For most people, I would say for probably 70% of clients, if not more, it's mornings. For some people, it's night. But for most people, it's mornings, where you could see the numbers are probably double in the morning than they are in the rest of the times of the day. So that way, if you know that this is your peculiarity of OCD, then okay, I have to lower it in the morning. You go into the morning like a warrior, like a champion, like, all right, OCD, bring it on. Bring on your usual nonsense. Let's see, I'm not going to buy into it this time. And you will start to see that, hey, I'm not feeling so bad. I had a good day. I remember, again, I wasn't tracking, but when I started to disregard, just literally by chance it happened. I think I told the story somewhere in the videos, but anyway, I don't want to go into it for too long, but by chance I disregarded, and I felt that relief for a whole, I know it sounds so sad now, but for a whole 15 minutes, I felt relief. And you have to understand that before that relief, I literally had nonstop OCD for, I don't know, a few years, where it was just pummeling. I had OCD probably since I was little, but those few years where there was no break, like there was no 15 minutes. And then when I started to disregard, I was like, what did I do? I felt relief. I don't feel as, it just like lifted. And then it came right back, of course, after the 15 minutes, but it worked. So you'll start to see these pockets in the day where maybe you got, busy with something and whatever, doesn't matter. But OCD let go a little bit, and those pockets will grow and grow and grow again as you are reducing the time. The rumination is OCD's only fuel, and physical compulsions if you're doing that. But physical compulsion is kind of still, within rumination parameters because you're still thinking about it, you're still obsessing, right? But that's all it needs to keep running. That's all it needs. So if you take all that away, it's got nothing. You won. So it's little battles to win the big war. You know what I mean? That's all it is every single day. I'm with you. You can do this. If I did it, and I'm not the most strong-willed person, I know people are like, yeah, you are, Ellie. Believe me, I'm not. And if I can claw my way, literally crawl and claw my way to it, nobody, when I was doing recovery, or believe me, I wasn't running towards recovery. I was crawling and clawing and all of that, and crying my way, walking down the street. All that happened. Believe me, all that happened. And family suffered with it and the whole bit. So if I can do this, you definitely can. I believe in you. I hope you find this video helpful. Subscribe if you haven't. I will be back with regular videos. I just was a little bit too caught up in the sessions, but I'm back now, so I will be back with another video. The forum is available through youhaveocd.com, as is the sessions. We will also be doing more coaching programs where we're going to be training coaches. So that's all on visit youhaveocd.com for more information. I will be back tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Hi everyone, I'm GREYMOND. I'm an OCD recovery coach with more than 10 years of experience helping people recover from OCD. Prior to that, I had severe OCD myself that I fully recovered from, and as do my clients. So if you wonder, can you fully recover from OCD? Absolutely, yes, you can. Today I want to talk to you about how to reduce rumination in the fastest amount of time possible. So step one, you need to track the time. I know I sound very annoying when I repeat this to you guys, but I wouldn't push time tracking this much if I truly didn't see that it was working. It works with absolutely everybody. Tracking the time, but in a way of reducing the time. So a lot of the times people at first will start to fall into just logging. You have to understand that the reason of tracking the time is, again, I like to kind of compare OCD recovery to a diet. Who's going to lose weight? Person A who is just on a diet, or person B who is tracking